Hey friends, I spent a little time this morning reflecting on something that just kind of popped into my mind during meditation, and I was doing an exercise that has been given to me by Madeline, my piano teacher, called performing. She calls it performing beyond fear, and it's reflecting upon our lineage and then our own basic goodness, which is a Buddhist concept of the basic goodness of all life, of all human beings, but really of all things, all beings, everything in the universe. And then we reflect upon the basic goodness of, in the case of music, our audience, the people we might be playing for, anyone we might be sharing with. And I've kind of adapted this exercise at this point. I do it in any number of ways. Sometimes I'm not thinking about my musical lineage. Sometimes I'm thinking about my family lineage, or my intellectual lineage, or my even physical practice lineage. So it's a beautiful exercise, and it always has a powerful impact on me. Every time I do it, I find myself having a new little nugget of insight coming through. And this morning I was just doing the original, so to speak, reflecting on my musical lineage, and I realized that it all starts with my dad. It all starts with my father. And I can look at my life and all of the different influences that I've had. And I've had some really great ones. I've had some really remarkable teachers cross my path, and there are whole chapters of my life that are in many ways defined by the influences of these teachers. But there's this fundamental orientation to music that comes from my father, because I grew up in a household where music was just part of the water we swam in. It was one of those things where it was just so familiar and so much part of the fabric of our life, that I just absorbed that. So then so from there, I started to reflect on my mother's influence on me, which she was also an influence musically, in the sense that she was present for a lot of the work that I did. I remember going to piano lessons as a young kid. Oftentimes it was my mom who brought me, so me and my brother. So there was a very present through line of her influence in music as well. But really, where I feel one of the areas of life that where I look at it, and I have a similar response to what I have with my dad in music, is my intellectual curiosity and my love of writing and my desire to learn, to develop my mind. When I think about that, or when I connect with that part of myself, it all of a sudden feels, it's like it all starts with my mother. So So as I was sitting this morning, I was kind of like these two streams were sort of just showing up in my awareness, and I was thinking, you know, in a lot of ways, I've subconsciously, but even somewhat consciously, pursued a kind of a marriage between these two influences. I have felt like who I am is a marriage of these two influences. And that's absolutely the case. When I look at the way I've spent my time and the way that the things that I have been interested in throughout my life, and that that kind of remain the focal points for me even today, there's a marriage of these influences. But then another recognition started to come through, which is I actually can't, and this is not a new recognition, it was just kind of a reminder, but I actually, in some ways, I almost need to let those influences go and not make it my intention to somehow stitch them together or unify them or make my focus in life about unifying those influences. Because as long as I'm doing that, as long as that is my focus, and I'm not saying it really is, but I think in some ways it still is, and especially subconsciously. But as long as I'm doing that, I'm taking external influences, however deep they may be, and I'm trying to find my identity through them, or create my identity using them. And something this morning just kind of showed up and gave me this little nudge of like, you're not going to find your own deepest essence in those external influences, even though they might be massively formative of my personality. They're not going anywhere. Those influences are imprinted on me. They're who I am. But there's a kind of healthy dissolving of those influences, as far as, or a dissolving of my attachment to them, or a dissolving of any sense that they define me. That's kind of important, because I don't think there's any there as far as stitching influences together. If that's what I'm looking at and that's what I'm trying to do, it's like I'm working out here in this external realm, when the reality is that the deepest unfoldment of who I am and what I am is going to come from within. And it may then channel, and almost certainly will channel through all the various influences, not just parental, but all of the imprinting that I've received. It's going to channel through all that, but it's not to be found there. You know, I had this image like, if I went to a school where they served grilled cheese in the cafeteria, and I really started to like grilled cheese in the cafeteria, I really started to like grilled cheese as a kid, and then I got older and I was like, well, I want to construct the perfect diet for myself. But it has to include grilled cheese because that's what I always ate in the cafeteria, and that's my favorite food. And it's like, well, no, you can include it or not, but it's an essentially arbitrary influence. It's just that it happened to have impact on me. And so I think that's where I'm trying to. I think maybe that's where the what was coming up today is coming from is a desire or a sense of wanting to be free of all of my influences, not so that I can not so that I can forget them, but so that I'm not defined by them, so that I can have even more autonomy from them and even more ability to let what's coming through this individual human really come through, really unfold, and then express itself however it wants to, undoubtedly with lots of recourse to those early influences. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.